we are on to assembly, or at least the first part of our assembly process. So this is as simple as hammering these in, and mine will have to be hammered. Hopefully yours won't. Mine's pretty tough. About halfway in's as far as I'm going to get, I think. By hand, anyway. So we're going to have to slide these in as far as we can get them up to where the tracks for our timber is at. I'm going to lay down some cloth just so I don't beat up the front face of my assembly job here. We're just going to tap these in with a hammer. May have taken that one just a hair too far. Okay. The next step have a look at these, decide what was the bottom, what was the top, front. These need to slide in this way. Yeah, and I took one too far, so I've got to tap it back out just a little bit. So what I've done, the camera's probably going to have a difficult time seeing this, but I've left my track in the back. That's how I'm going to slide my timbers in. And then we will slowly take each side forward. Turn this around backwards. I'm going to hang this right off the edge of my bench. Alright, let's see if I can. So I've left the track open on each side, hopefully evenly. I have to decide what was facing the bottom. Yep, I got that right. Oh, my bench vise is in the way. There we go. And we just got to work this into place. I'm still a little snug against this side over here. Okay. So, there is the front of our bread box. I'll probably have to put a little, I was debating whether I was going to do a full-size front door or drawer that comes out, or whether I was going to put, like you see in some of the pictures that I've got, there's a board across. I'll probably end up doing the board across. That'll just make life easier. As you guys can see, there she is. Now we've got to tap it into place and get it to stay. So we're going to have to do a couple on this side, a couple on this side. And go back and forth. Retest for movement. So we've got real good movement. So if you guys remember my original plan, my original draft called for a separate piece of wood that comes up in here to hide this cloth in the back. Unfortunately, there's not going to be anything I can do about that since I misplaced my inlay bit, because I was going to use a router and an inlay bit to create a channel to slide a piece of wood in here. I'm not worried about it. It's just a change in design. So next up, what we've got to do is get the top on and I'm going to attach this by dowels, and I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. So anyway, there is the first initial assembly. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. So our top is going to set on in place. I realize that this is a big bread box. That was intentional. She is very, very large. Probably twice the size of the average bread box that you would see. And I don't really think that that's an exaggeration. So I need to take just a little bit off of this. Probably not much though. And I can probably use a block plane to do that. I'm also, if I can find it here, I've got a square around here. I'm going to make sure that my sides are square when I'm putting this back on. Just so I can see what needs to be shaved down, what doesn't. As the back is really what's going to hold you in square. So I need to take quite a bit of this down. If I put that square in here, I can tell that that's perfectly square as is. That one's perfectly square as is. So this pretty much just has to fit in place. So we're just going to shave this down. There we go. I do still have to kind of squeeze. How do I look next to my square? I need to do a little bit more. Eventually, I also, the way this rabbit will work, and you can see I need to trim a little bit more right here on this side. Well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but that back will set flush right into here. So there will be our back. And we can nail, screw, glue, staple, whatever you want to do with the back of this to hold it in. Next comes, how do we attach the top to this? And what I'm going to teach you guys to do here is one of the basic methods of attaching something together, and that's using dowel rods. What I'm using here is a 3/8 inch dowel. We're going to cut this down so that it's just little pieces. We're going to drill a hole here, and one here, and here. And then we're going to stick a dowel rod in each one of these. And we'll use that. We'll drill matching holes in the top, and I'll explain to you in a minute how to do that. So we're going to start off. Figure out somewhere where close to center is, where you want this to be. Don't let it walk on you. If you have to, start a pilot hole. Next up, we're going to pull out a set of these. And what these are pre-sized center hole punches. So I have 3/8, which should be one of these. Drop these right down into the hole, and then when I lay my board down on top and I position it, I can just tap it with my hand, or if you're using a real hardwood, maybe a mallet. It will make a starting hole for you that tells you exactly where you're supposed to be. Now, as I was saying earlier when we left off, we're doing dowels down to the top to hold this into place. When dealing with a piece of furniture that has a sliding door, like a bread box, I know you can't see this, but you can hear it, make sure that you have your measurements across before you measure for your dowels. Because what's going to happen is you'll notice that I've installed the back just to make sure. I've got some dowels in the top of this, and then I've got dowels in the bottom. I've got one on each. But if you don't size these just right, you'll end up having a little grief. But if you do it just right, this will just slide right down into place. But it's a matter of having this square and set where you want it. So when you do your bread box, put the back on first. That way these can't move, and your measurements are perfect for when you drill your dowels. It'll work for you every time. Boy, she's snug. So I'm going to make a couple more adjustments to this. And when I come back, I'll show you the finished product. So I do not want to exceed 3/4 of an inch, because if I do, I'm going to have a hole that goes all the way through. So I'm going to find 1/2 inch on my drill bit, roughly. As long as it's less than 3/4 of an inch, we're fine, right? I'm going to set a piece of tape on there. And I'm going to wrap this piece of tape around. And now I know how far to tap down through this without coming out the top. So I'm going to find my first pilot hole, my drill bit right in there. So when you're doing and setting up your dowels, what do you do if you have a hole that's off? Well, here's my suggestion. Shove a dowel rod right back up in here, and then just chisel off the excess. Just fill that hole. I've got one that I was slightly off on, which is no surprise for me. I always have my moments. See? Now I can go in and just chisel this off nice and flush and even. That will set up and that hole will be permanently filled. Or this is going to be behind a board, I don't even technically have to put the dowel rod or fill that. I could just drill a new hole. Completely drill a new hole. But hey, that's the way it goes. So, what we're going to do is line that up. I've got my markers in place. I've put the back on temporarily with some staples. That way I know this will slide, it's not pinched, it's not cramped. We're going to set this down gently. I'm going to take a measurement and see where this needs to be. Oh, and I am right on the money. Pretty darn close to it anyway. Right there is where that is supposed to be. Flush the back, just like beforehand. This time I'm going to make sure I'm 100% square. There we go. And this one looks like it's still right where it's supposed to be. So I just had that one that was off. So I'm going to re-drill that exactly as I did before. And then my dowel rod's going to fit perfect this time. Everybody has moments in woodworking. Yep, I can see my hole. Okay, we'll be right back when it fits. Thanks for watching, everyone. Howdy, YouTube. So, with a little bit of adjusting, I did re-drill 2 holes because they were just out of square. They were not doing what I wanted them to. And so what I did was shove a dowel rod in there, chop it off in the top, and then just remark my holes and re-drill. Worked fine. So this still sliding nice and smooth and neat. And I think I'm actually going to do an unusual step and also put a couple nails in here. They're not necessary to hold it, but I actually think I want to have the antique nailed together look. I don't usually use nails on my products. I generally prefer screws, but in this case I think I'm actually going to add a couple of nails just for fun, just to leave a couple little nail holes. I'll sink them a little bit. If I had some old antique square head nails, I'd use those, but I don't have any of those right now. Sometimes I like to show some of my fasteners, and sometimes I like to hide them. So here's an example of perfectly hidden. You've got dowel rods put in here, you've glued this in place, it's nice and tight. And like I said, I did have to rework one of those. It's just me being stupid, to be quite honest. Everybody has their moments, and I should have thought about it and put the back on before I marked those. So when you're watching this video, learn from my mistakes, put the back on first. I always have my moments. That way you know you're nice and square and neat and you've got it where you want it. And then this will line up and fit perfect. The other alternative to doing this still uses dowels. What you would do is drill a little pilot hole down to the top, put a screw in. Well, you drill a second bigger hole to hide the screw in. Insert a dowel over the top with some glue, let it dry, cut it off, and then stain it. You'll still see the dowel, but it'll hide your fasteners. So that's alternative number 2 to do this. Yeah, so that's how you conceal your fasteners or put the top on this. I've used a couple different methods. I've showed you guys how to do a sliding dovetail on the bottom. I've showed you how to do dowel rod between the two. We've also shown you how to do biscuits in this project, and we've shown you how to do rabbets in the back to fit the back in. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. This series has been full of learning experiences for everyone. We'll come back when we're getting ready to do the drawer that's going to go in the top. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.